In this video, we're going to go over what is support and resistance levels, as well as what are zones, even how to identify these levels on a live chart. And in the next video, guys, after this one, I will do a video on how I trade these specific levels using candlesticks. And so if you haven't watched all my previous videos, I recommend you do, because I'll be using everything that I talked about previously and use them in these videos for technical analysis and find the best trade setups in our favor. So before we actually get into a live chart, guys, I just want to go over specifically what a resistance level and support levels even means to the T, with the real definition behind them, before we dive into a live chart to show you guys how to find these on your guys' own without using me. Now, a resistance level is very simple. It's where the price tends to stop rising. Now, I know most people believe that they understand that to the T, but there's a little bit more to it as well. Resistance levels often reflect where traders expect prices to reverse at these points, guys. Keep that in mind. For an example, at 503.28, every time we hit the specific level, we tend to reverse and stop rising. Now, the moment we break above a resistance, it can signal a start of a bullish momentum or upwards movement. As you guys can see on this quick example, the moment we got above 503.28, now we're creating some bullish momentum to the upside, and we're continuing on to some higher highs. Now, to briefly go over a support level, support is where the price tends to stop falling. Support levels represent where traders believe buyers will step in and reverse the stock towards the upside. For an example, at 492, this specific level on the S&P 500s, every time we hit this general area, buyers step in and buy the price on up. You guys can see it every time we hit 492, about 4 times. The buyers step in and buy that price on up. A break below a support level signals a start to a bearish trend. So if we were to break this 492 level and drop on down, we start creating some bearish momentum to the downside. One key note that I need you guys to understand is the fact that after a resistance level is broken, it often turns into a new support level as the price tends to pull back and finds buyers at the most previous resistance points or level. For an example, that 503.28 level, the moment we broke above it over here in this general area, later on in life in the future, you can still have that level, and you guys can see at one point it actually becomes a support level as well. So after you get a break to the upside off the resistance level, it now often acts like a support level. Same thing with the most recent support level or resistance level. It does the vice versa. It does the same thing. If we were to break below this 492, price often likes to come back to retest that general area and break back down to the downside again, acting as a resistance level, although it was at one point a support level. Now, before we dive into a live chart, which is real soon, we went over what is support and resistance levels. Now, what are zones, which is by far my most favorite thing to use, and I love zones because they cover a lot more wider range. As you guys can see here as an example, zones cover a wider range of price rather than a specific price point where the price fluctuates within a general range. Now, all I did was grab this lowest wick of this downside candle, as well as this lowest wick of this downside candle, and you guys can see it's a little bit of a wider range. It's not a specific level. It's not a single one-digit number. There's about 2 levels in this general area, and every time we come to this general area, it actually acts as a support. This is probably by far the best example, and this is on AMD, and it's actually more of a wider range. It's a big range. You guys can see every time we step into this general range, a lot of reactions and a lot of fluctuation in this general area. And I'll show you guys how I trade zones in the next video. In this video, we'll just go over how to spot them. But overall, every time we get in this general area, I like to wait for a break to the upside or to the downside of the range. Now, you guys can see we usually fluctuate and create some consolidation around the range, which is nice. Moment we get a nice break above, look what happens when we come down to test that level. Nice buyer step in. Again, buyer step in for one last time, but now we're back in that range, breaks back up to the upside, back in that range, breaks up to the upside again, and again, buyers keep stepping in on this general area of this wide range. Lots of fluctuation around here. Big break to the upside, and here we are, back into the range again, acting as a little bit of support, but ultimately, this one gets a break to the downside, and you guys can see, it even retested that general range and breaks even more to the downside, so for some bearish momentum. Same kind of general idea of support and resistance levels, except it covers a wider range. So now, let's dive into a live chart and find these levels specifically. Now that we're in a live chart, there's a couple things I want to show you guys and drop some gems for you guys, drop some pro tips to actually help me further along in my journey to find better levels. And bear with me, guys. Only the most dedicated and well-disciplined people will watch all the way through to understand exactly what I'm talking about. And once they pick up these key gems, it's like having 6 different key gems to open one single door that has 6 different keyholes. And once you open that door, you guys will understand the market a lot better as far as finding these specific price points that the market likes to reject that and reverse that. And the first key gem is the fact that the higher the time frame, the stronger the move, guys. The stronger the support level, the stronger resistance level as well. I always say that along on all of my videos as well as in my Discord, guys, and I always tell people, if you can find a level on a higher time frame, it actually holds more weight. And you guys will see when you guys trade it on the 5 to 15 minute time frame, they have nice reactions as well, guys. So let's get right into it and show you guys how I find my specific levels to the T and why I like zones a lot more better. And we might even go over a quick trade that I actually took myself on AMD just using specific zones. Let's get right into it, guys. So one thing that I first did when I first started trading is I would think that this is the way you guys support and resistance levels, is the fact that you just find where your general wicks are at and you just mark them off like that, something like that. I'm grabbing this wick right here, and you guys can see every time we're in this general area we reject, and it's not too bad because you guys can see in this general area we reject as well until we get a nice break on the weekly time frame to the upside. But I'll tell you guys why this is the important key gem to find real solid levels, because if I was going on a 5-minute time frame, it would not look as beautiful as it is on a weekly. Now the key gem that I'm going to drop you guys with is the fact that you need to find levels that hit a specific price point to almost the T, just a few cents away from each other. So this has no levels or really no general areas where it hit twice to the T here. And then what I'm talking about and what I mean by that is this level, the highest it hit was 122.49. Now if I just mark that level off and go over here in this general area, I'll actually see that there's no specific price levels that hit that as well. I'm just basing off what it looks like in the general terms. The highest this one hit was 122.12, 30-cent difference from that one. Highest this one hit was 121.75, so major high difference. Now this wick right here hit 122.11, so that's actually pretty interesting. 122.11 and 122.12 are very close to each other, so I actually like that in the general area. So what I'm actually going to do is mark off that level that we just talked about right now, which I didn't even notice, 122.12. So let's mark off 122.12, and the reason why I'm marking this one off is the fact that we hit this level generally twice. 122.12 here, 122.11 here. 1 cent difference. That's what I'm talking about. That's the key gem that I'm talking about, guys. If you guys can find levels where the market hit at least twice, at the very least twice, a specific level, that is the gem. Because when you go on a lower time frame, you guys will notice that the reactions there are importantly strong. Now look at this. I didn't even notice this or catch this. Look at this, guys. Like we talked about earlier, when you find your resistance levels and they get a break to the upside for bullish momentum, they act like a support now. Look what happens when we came down to that general area. This is key. We hit that support level and we bounced to the T. 122.16 is where we open at on this price. That is perfect. That is only a few cents difference, a 4 cents difference of that level from 122.12 to 122.11 to now we open on this candle at 122.16, holding that level as a support, guys. That is how you find your levels. Mind you, I'm on a weekly time frame, and let's try to see if we can look at it on a 5 minutes. So unfortunately, this is only as far back as I can go on a 5 minutes, so I am gonna have to switch down and go a little bit further. So maybe the 1 hour can get me there. So here we are on the 1 hour at that level at 122.12, and you guys can see long wicks to downside indicating that buyers are stepping in. And if you watch my candlestick video, you guys will understand exactly what long wicks to downside indicate. Long wicks to downside indicate that buyers are trying to step in, and when you get a long wick to the upside like these three candles right here, that means sellers are trying to step in. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves, because I love using technical analysis. My favorite to spot the reversals, but overall this level was a specific support level, and now we're holding it down. We're holding it down 10 toes down. Now that is one example of a resistance levels that actually turned into a support later on in life. Now we're going to try to find some support levels and even show you guys here soon a nice zone. Now what I am going to do is even go on a lower time frame, but before I do that, I want to give you guys one more key tip. If you guys are struggling to find levels specifically, what you can do is go on a line graph. A line graph can find you some decent levels as well. And this is only if you're struggling with it. If you know what I mean, from that one guy on Instagram, you struggling with it. So if you're struggling with it, guys, you guys can go on a line graph and you guys can see in this general area every single time, this is a nice resistance level. Nice resistance, nice resistance, nice resistance. Let's switch over to what it looks like on a candle graph as well. Look at that. Not so bad, to be honest. Now, I don't like using line graphs because I grew from them, but when I first started, I used them. So that's another gem. The third gem that I'm leaving with you guys is the fact that if you're struggling with it, you guys can go on a line graph. Now look at this. It's not too bad. I'm not going to use this as a perfect example. This is not a perfect example, but you guys can see every time we hit this general area, it acts like a resistance level. So now we're going to find a support level, guys, to show you guys how to find a support level. So again, I'm on a weekly time frame, which means the higher the time frame, the stronger the level, the stronger the zone, the stronger the move. So in this general area, I like the way we're holding here in this general area. Now the way I find my most specific levels to the T, because what most people do, and when I first started, is I'll just be like, yeah, this looks like a support level. But the reason why it's not as strong is you need to find specific levels that hit that level a couple times. So let's look and let's observe these candles. So the lowest this candle hit is 73.85. The lowest this one hit is 73.88. Only a 3 cents difference there. But let's keep looking on and seeing if we can find these levels hit again. 73.76, so a few cents away. And I'll also show you guys how we can create that in the zone here soon. But ultimately, let's keep looking. Look at this one, 73.86. 1 cent difference from this candle right here, which is 73.85. And even a 2 cents away from 73.88. So I actually like this general area. This general area is going to be a nice support level. We have one level hitting really close to the other level, as well as another level hitting really close as well. Let's keep searching. We can find another one. So there is no other levels that really hit that specifically to the T other than this candle right here, which hits 73.85, and this candle right here, which is hitting 73.86. So what I am going to do is grab that 73.85 level, since it's kind of the lowest point it ever was, and use that as a support level. Now, there are no levels that specifically hit that to the T, So I am just going to grab 73.85, which is the lowest that this candle hit right here. And it's also the lowest that this candle over here hit, which was 73.86. So I'm going to grab the lowest point in this general area, which is 73.85, and use that bad boy as a support level, since it's the closest that I can find for the price every time it hits this general area. There's already 2 price points that's showing me for confirmation that every time we hit this general area, we like to get some buyers. So you guys can see on the weekly time frame, buyers like to step in and buy these candles on up or around this general price every single time. We get no candle closes below, and in this time we actually get long wicks to downside. But guys, we already know in the candlestick video that when there's long wicks to downside, that actually just indicates buyers are stepping in and buying it on up. And you guys can even see in the volume, buyers are stepping in on this specific candle as well. So that's really nice. So now let's quickly talk about zones, and we're just going to create one in the same general area that we were just talking about. And the way that I like to find my zones, guys, is I like to see a lot of reactions in a specific general area. And the reason why I like zones in general is because when I can't really find a specific level to price point my price point at, what I like to do is use zones in my favor, and they cover more of a wider range. But guys, the reactions on them is so beautiful. I'll show you why. Now, there's really no right or wrong way to grab zones. You can either grab this high of this wick right here and grab the most highest point of this wick up here, or what I like to tend to do is actually grab this wick right here, and it looks a little more better, which is 96.37. So I'm going to grab that one and grab the high of this wick right here as well. So I grabbed those 2 wicks and I extended it all the way out to 2024, and let's see what the reactions are, guys, on that specific area, which is this wick right here, which is 96.37 and 99.23. So let's go over here, and you guys can already see, like we talked about earlier, when the resistance level gets broken down to the upside, it tends to act like a support. And you guys can see in this general area, long wicks to downside, buyers stepping in. And again, guys, here we are to the T, 99.35, 1 cent away from our most recent zone support level. And guys, buyers step in, and again, we get to this general area, buyers are stepping in until we get a break below, reject candle there, another reject candle a little bit there, but it's still pretty strong. This is a bull candle, long way to the downside, a little bit of a bull candle, neutral type candle, and again, another buyer candle, buys us on up, and a break back below. What we're looking for is the reactions, guys, and you guys can see every time we're in this general area, look at the reactions here. Now I know in this case right here, we're breaking above, buyers stepping in, long way to the downside, and ultimately get a reversal back down to the downside. But guys, look at the reactions here, perfectly to the T like butter. This is what you're looking for. Big buyer candle in there, a little bit of an indecision type candle, not too sure where to go, doji candle here, and ultimately we sell off, and again, another retest till we get some long wicks to downside on these 2 type candles. Buyers are trying to step in again, and we get a nice break to the upside. Here we are trying to act like a support here on this general range where the price fluctuates at, long wicks to downside here, big buyer candle there, and ultimately, guys, we never come back down to see the light of day again. So that's how I use my zones, and you guys can see it looks actually pretty beautiful. So that was on a weekly time frame. You can step down and go on the hourly, and you guys can find levels as well. Now this is the most recent one that I actually found myself, and this is how I traded AMD, made 35% gains off a single trade on AMD, guys. Bought 3 of them, sold 2 of them at 15%, and held the last one for 35. Now again, I use this one for a zone. Honestly, zones are my favorite. I don't really like support and resistance as much, specifically price specific areas. What I like to do is grab zones. So I like to grab the high of this wick right here, which is 168.68. So I'm going to grab 168.68 and grab the high of this wick right here, which is 168.73, and zoom in all the way over here. And guys, let's talk about this. This is what I'm talking about. So after you find your higher time frame level, like a support or resistance or a zone, then you go on a 5-minute time frame and trade it on a lower time frame. So look at how beautiful this one was, guys. This is beautiful. And if you watch my candlestick pattern video, which is actually the most recent one I just dropped, you guys can see that this is actually a pattern right here, perfectly to the T, guys. But we're not here to talk about patterns. This is just a beautiful one that actually happens to be here. What we are going to talk about is the fact that when you find your higher time frame setups, like I said, they have really nice reactions on a lower time frame, which is most likely we're going to find your entries at anyways. So let's talk about this specific level to the T, and this is where we'll wrap it up at and call it good for the day. And I hope this one helped you guys, but let's talk about this, guys, for a quick second, because I actually took puts here. The moment we got a nice reject here, and real quick, I'll actually show you guys my level setups, but this is what my level setups actually look like. Guys, just look at the way they actually are playing out, perfectly to the T. Nice zone here, trying to hold support here on this level, breaks below, fluctuates a little bit, but ultimately look at what happens when we get above these levels too, guys. Stays in that general area. But I just want to show you guys that, to show you guys that when you guys find your guys' levels, you guys will see that they actually react nicely to the T there. But ultimately, buyers step in, no candle closes above, reject candle here, and this is where I enter puts at for nice downside 35% gain. And again, come down to the general area, long wick to the upside here, long wick to the upside here for a reject, and we reject one more time until we come over here in this general area. And if you guys want to, you guys can even grab this and create a range, grab the highest point of this, grab the lowest point of this, and call this a quick range. And you can say, if it breaks above that range, I'm going to take calls. That's something I also like to do too. But since we're talking about this specific level, let's talk about this specific level. Now, if you guys watch my candlestick video on how I trade candles, you guys will understand that the moment we get a nice break above a resistance level, and when we talked about it in the beginning in the PowerPoints, I said the moment you get a break above a specific level, it's when you get some bullish momentum. Now, we got some bullish momentum the moment we broke above and got a 5-minute candle close above this specific level, which is where you wait for a retest and you take calls, guys. That's how simple it is. It's so simple. But what you need to do is go on a higher time frame, and the way you can perfect it is go on maybe the 4-hour, the daily, and find these specific levels, guys. And then what you do is you go on a lower time frame and trade them. So you find these specific levels and then you trade them, guys, on a lower time frame. That's what you need to do, guys. So I hope this video helps, and I hope you guys understand now how I use support and resistance levels. What I will do in the next video is how I specifically use everything in my favor to trade these levels, guys, as well. So we'll also, again, find some levels, and then we'll go back in time and see how they reacted, and I'll show you guys exactly when I would have entered, how I would have entered, why I would have entered, when I would have sold if it went against me, if it would have been a loss, what would I do if I would have lost on the trade, where would I cut at, and all those things like that. We're going to use everything in our favor. So I hope you guys have been keeping up with watching the candlestick videos, higher low concept, as well as now we're dropping this support and resistance level. And guys, link is in the bio. I hope you guys join the Discord because we're killing it every single day. So I hope this video helps. Please give me some feedback if this video helped. If you guys want another video explaining more about support and resistance levels, I can find some more for you guys, and we could go again, dive back deep into live charts and talk about it all over again. So I'll see you guys in the trade zone. Have a great rest of you guys this week.